has just wrapped up possibly the most important WWDC they've ever had. It's Tim Cook last dance before stepping down as CEO, so we got our final.
Good morning.
And even more importantly, after 2 years of Apple convincing us that their phones are about to become supercharged with AI, and then a $250 million lawsuit for under delivery, today was the event where they had to prove that actually Apple Intelligence and their next Siri, called Siri AI, is the real deal. They've definitely got the design right. It all looks beautiful, but there are some question marks around functionality and a couple of bits that just felt up straight up tone deaf to me. We'll get to that. So given the absolutely enormous stakes of this event, I found it pretty hilarious that Apple kicks off things with a corner radius on their windows within your Mac.
Every window on macOS now has the same tighter corner radius.
Finally, they answered my prayers. The big picture, though, aside from all the AI stuff, is this year's software is all about optimization across all their products. Seems like Apple realized that after a year of squinting at their icons that the transparency of liquid glass was probably set a little bit too high by default. So they've toned it down. And since no one seems to agree on what the correct amount of transparency actually is, they've gone fine. We'll do it ourselves and given us a slider. So depending on how brave you're feeling, you can decide whether dial it up from there or down. This is clearly the era of Apple fixing up their backend. They do this every now and again, and they are often the less exciting updates, but they're the ones that end up actually mattering more. Like for example, they are now saying that everything is going to be just faster. They throw out a whole load of numbers. Like for example, iPhone apps are now going to load up to 30% faster. After shooting photos, the photos appear in your gallery up to 70% faster. AirDrops are up to 80% faster. And because all the devices are about to get much better to properly index info, you'll also be able to search through them quicker. Bear in mind those apps though. Nothing they've announced is actually going to feel as transformative as they make it sound. But I do like the idea of things getting faster. There are also a ton of smaller changes. You could just pause here if you fancy a very long read. And just before the big new Apple Intelligence and Siri, Apple took a surprise segue into child protection features. Now the idea is to really give parents complete control over what their kids can see and do. So anytime your child wants to download a new app, a new pin, you can see it and you can decide to approve it. Anytime they visit a website for the first time, or even talk to a new person, you can see it and approve it, which I guess is kind of a double-edged blade because I can see the safety benefits, making sure they're not talking to people who they shouldn't be, but also partly just the overstimulation stuff. It means you can set up your kids with like a small number of apps when they're young and let them unlock more as they get older. Or you can just let them use school related apps during the school day and then schedule the entertainment apps to only unlock in the evening. Whether this response is to governments demanding better child protection or just Apple seeing the massive potential upside in getting kids locked into the ecosystem before they're old enough to even make a choice. These are actually really good features, which is kind of sad to say, but they're needed now given how capable and open the tech has become. But now it's time to address the elephant in the room, Siri AI. They opened this whole thing up by saying,
We know there are times when you expect more from Siri.
yeah, I think that's quite the understatement. The first time Apple announced a new Siri in 2024, the brand new disco lit animation, which ended up as the main feature, Siri was so half baked that if you bought an iPhone because of it, Apple literally owes you up to $95. And I'm relieved to say the new Siri AI is a huge jump. So it's got a fresh look. So it's got this subtler, more toned down, more liquid glassy aesthetic, potentially a little personal lossless at premium for sure, and it now lives inside your dynamic hand. So in terms of capability, this is not breaking any new ground. It's not a secret that Apple spent Google $1 billion a year just to use Gemini as its foundation. It's not a surprise that pretty much everything this new Siri can do is something that we've already seen Google Gemini do, but it still makes a massive leap over the old series. So they gave a bunch of real-time examples in their keynote, like how you can have continued conversations with it. You can ask when a band is performing and how you can get tickets. They showed how Syria now has screen awareness, so you can just be looking at a photo and then ask where this exactly is without needing to spell out what you're looking at. It has personal context, so Siri can access all your past messages, your photos, and because your now files are indexed more thoroughly, they're saying that Siri is now good at like pulling up those things at the right times when you ask Siri about things related to them. Bear in mind though, this isn't a live event, so while there should not appear to be real-time examples, how many times did they test those real-time examples till they worked out perfectly? I'll guess more than once. Here's the good news though. All the clunkiness and complexity of having to build your own shortcut is gone, which is such a good idea because it takes one of the best possible features of the iPhone from something that only 10% reduced to something that even me, my grandma would happily use. Now, as part of this overhaul, Apple also upgraded the weird visual intelligence feature that all of you used. It is now powered by the new Siri AI integrated into the camera app itself. There's some good ideas there, like you can scan a plate of food and get nutritional insight, or scan a bill, then your phone can automatically split that bill up and send people money requests using Apple Cash, ways to make your Android friends feel even more out of it. I like the integration. It makes sense to fuse visual intelligence with the camera app that everyone's already using. And it's great that each scan you automatically do saves it to your Siri app so that you can come back to it. Whether or not I actually use it is going to rest entirely on how reliable it is. Like if I'm on holiday and I translate the ingredients of a trail mix to check if it contains peanuts, which I'm deathly allergic to, I'm not going to use this over Google Lens just because it has prettier animations. It's all about the results. Now, bear in mind the whole upgraded Siri AI is not just a phone thing, it's coming to all Apple products now. So the Apple Watch gets it, which is really useful because that's an even faster way of getting it than the phone. The Vision Pro gets it in the form of this floating 3D blob, which you can just look at and start speaking. And what I thought was pretty impressive is that it can now understand not just the Safari tabs and windows that you have open, but also the real objects in the real room in front of you at the same time. And the Mac gets it. But to me, at least, that's the least useful one. They showed off a bunch of things you can do with the new Siri, like how it's integrated into the Mac's normal Spotlight search, how you can highlight the files and then ask Siri questions about them, like you can compare the contents of them, or how you can highlight text or even extract data from them to add to your calendar. But honestly, nothing they showed for Mac really excited me. I think the difference is, unlike an Apple Watch, when I'm on my Mac, I already have access to all the best tools, and in that environment, I can't imagine using a lot of Siri, which feels quite up to the competition, but certainly not a bleeding edge tool. Then finally, for the event, Apple introduced the next generation of Apple Intelligence. I feel I feel like this contains both the highlights of the event as well as the low points. So Safari can now automatically organize your tabs based on what it says, which is an interesting idea. But personally for me, it just looks confusing to navigate. As leaving essays and having a ton of tabs, but being able to describe an extension to Safari and having it build it is just one of those chef's kiss moments. Like for example, a tool that enables you to save recipes really easily. Your iPhone can now upgrade your weak passwords, and that's well because that's not just your phone telling you that they're weak. It's essentially logging into the site on your behalf, deciding on what the password should be, then executing on that entire process. It also strikes me as a good way of locking people further into Apple. What's my password for Spotify? I have no idea, but my iPhone knows. Apple's now got a new feature similar to Google's Magic Queue, where the AI is trying to anticipate your needs. So if someone messages you about your recent trip together, it can pull up all the photos related to that trip. Or if someone emails you about an upcoming dinner reservation, this is the little option to immediately add it to your calendar. If you're on a phone call to say an airline, your phone can retrieve any relevant information codes from your mail app, and I do trust that Apple is going to integrate this seamlessly. But what isn't clear is if it's going to fall apart in Google, Gmail, or Google Calendar. One of the standouts was in the Apple Home app. That's if you use a compatible home security camera, then your iPhone can use its new AI to scan through the live feeds and summarize all the notable events by breaking up the clips into separated segments. There's a couple of instances where this feature could have saved me hours, and possibly the most important announcement of the entire event, a major boost in accuracy of spelling, punctuation, and dictation. So Apple saying that everything you now type, speak into your Apple devices when they get a new update will be a lot more accurate. That's a billion times more useful than all the AI features they try to have it right for you. I just want to write like me, but correct. It means that Siri is going to better understand you now. Your reminders will actually pick up what you mean and actually send intelligible messages when using Apple CarPlay. You know that image generation tool that everyone used to make slop, it's now makes slop in higher quality now. They give an example of how you can use someone's face to make an invite for event, but I was just so surprised that a company that's usually so deliberate, no one questioned how horrifying and soulless the end result was. Apple Intelligence cannot generate posters and lock screen wallpapers, but it still has that mid-tier AI creepy, not quite photorealistic feel to it. They've updated the photo cleanup to be able to scrub out photo bombers by image, and I will not complain about that. And for the last 2 years, ironically, for feature called cleanup, it has been quite the mess. It's an extend tool, so you can now expand images beyond the original frame, and it will use AI to fill in the blanks, and even special reframing. By using AI, you can touch up and drag an image to change the angle that the photo was taken from. And on one hand, this was absolutely an impressive tech demo of what's possible. But on the other hand, I just kind of hate this whole idea of you've already got a perfectly fine photo of your two real children. Why will you turn that into a fake AI image that never happened just to make the angle more aesthetic? Overall, I feel like Apple's AI has gone from being very behind to being good enough. This isn't class leading, but it will be a big jump if experiences in Apple products. Anyway, there's just a couple of important caveats. While they're even updating the old phones as the iPhone 11 to the new iOS 27, they're saying that the most powerful version of Siri that they showed us is only coming to the very latest products. So for iPhone, that's literally only the Air and the 17, not even the base iPhone 17. And the iPad and Max, you get a little bit more leeway, but not a lot. And also the fact that Apple's been a little bit more iffy about what you get for free. They've said some Apple Intelligence features, including image generation, have daily usage limits because they rely on powerful server models. Increased access is available with most iCloud Plus subscription plans. It feels a bit like they're trying to sweep away the biggest question under the rug, as if it's some sort of footnote, but time will tell.